to find out, what his position is there. I know that all department chairs in the school receive 2 nights in the summer. So he was a department chair for a long time, and that would just be automatic. So I don't know if, in a situation like that, if the monies that you were guaranteed to receive from an endowed chair, if they would be banked into the future since you're not using them. Obviously, there's a draw from these endowed chairs. I do know because I have 2 faculty members that were made endowed chairs in recent years under John Quelch, who was the prior dean, and he was very, very controversial, but he believed that endowed chairs should not receive any sort of support. The only thing he gave them was, was discretionary monies. That's it. So he did change the policy. He didn't go through faculty to do that, but I know that that was something that happened with two of my faculty members.
Yeah, policy change.
All right, so are we ready to bring him in? Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Good morning, Manuel. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing fine, thank you. Well, thank you for the opportunity. It means a lot to me because I've been for a year trying to figure out.
Well, before we go on, though, Manuel, let me just go around. I don't know if you know everyone here, so let me just have them introduce themselves to you so you know who's in the room. And we'll start with David.
David Chin, College of Engineering.
Tony.
I am Tony Barrientos, Professor of Neurology, Medical School.
Scott.
Hey, Scott Evans, School of Education, Human Development, serving ex officio as first vice chair of the Faculty Senate.
So,
Thank you.
Mito Gihara, Computer Science.
Hi, how are you?
Sarah, I don't know if you know Sarah, you probably do.
Yeah. Sarah Rushanek, Business Technology. Hi, Manuel.
Hi, how are you?
Batya.
Hello, Professor. I'm Batya Elbaum from the Department of Teaching and Learning in the School of Education and Human Development, and I apologize for the background noise at the airport.
Oh, no, that's fine. We don't hear anything. Thank you to all of you for your time.
Dora Seni.
Hi, I'm Shura Seni. My audio is better. I'm from the Department of Geography and Sustainable Development, College of Arts and Sciences.
And Dina.
Hi, I'm a professor of educational psychological studies in the School of Education.
Thank you very much.
All right, so if you would just kind of give us a very, very brief overview. We've all read the materials, and then we'll open it up for the committee who has questions for you.
Yes, well, I want to start with a document. So, yeah, I promise to be very brief. But I prefer to start with a document that I have written. Let's see whether you can see it. So, this is Manuel Santos, originally from Spain, but I've been in many places. So I just want to highlight that I was nominated as a fellow of the Econometric Society since 2009. This is the only person in Florida that has this distinction. I'll go very briefly. I'm helping, so it will take only 5 minutes. I spend part of my time to help Alan Herbert. I think that he's a visionary and he's very much into doing research. And obviously I'm trying to regain my strength in research. My peak was in the 90s, but still I want to go back. So if you look at the fellows of the Econometric Society this year, there are usually nominated 20 fellows and come from the top universities. So for instance, David Lucas studied with me at Chicago. is a chair professor at MIT, and I got this distinction 16 years before her. And you see, I can highlight Greg Mankiw, makes millions of dollars as a textbook producer and is a professor at Harvard University. So, you see, in a way, I think that looking at my career, I was pretty lucky that I had the right networking. And I came to Miami from a chair from Arizona and therefore I made a big effort to come here, although I was interested and persuaded by the business model that Paul Sugru had, okay? Then, just sort of to go, I was chair of the department between 2008 and 2022. My summer payments were through the endowed chair. At least at that time, like Jadon Luo used to tell me, well, we are chair professors, we are paid through the school, so whenever we do service, we do not need to be paid. So most chairs are paid simply through their contracts this summer. So every chair, or some chairs, department chairs, I mean, they get their contract through, their summer pay through the contract. But this was not my case. So I think that this is an important, I'm going to go very briefly with that. So I think that probably I saved the university like $1 million or $2 million because serving for free for all these years. So you see, sometimes people are not serious. It's very easy to dismiss anything. Our school sometimes produces thin air, but you see, I try to be fair. So let me just, in a couple of minutes, highlight my contract. My contract, as it is written here, is that I am entitled to every 5-year term, 3 summers will be paid by the school. The other 2 summers, I would have to apply for grants or make the effort. However, you see, I think that because 3 years I would be a chair and 2 years I wouldn't be a chair, what happened, and this is a proof, probably Linda knows better, with Dean Anderson. He came up with the idea that if you were a research chair, you would get the 2 nines unconditional. So I always got the 2 nines, at least if we are talking to Barbara Kang and Dean Anderson, unconditional. They never asked me for any request. And this is, you see, I have here the contract with Dean Anderson. And it simply says that as part of this agreement, you get a stipend of $15,000 and 1 course less. And I thought actually that this was the rule. I mean, in all departments previously that I've been, the rule was that if you're a department chair, you get a stipend and you get 1 course less. And apparently our business school is different, but I never noticed that. This is another contract that simply shows, I mean, I don't have access to all contracts, but simply shows that as a chair, I receive a stipend. So this is like $1,000 or $2,000 per month. And 1 course, I only have to teach 2 courses rather than 3. Now, Dean Quelch, when he came, the school was under monetary stress and had to make some changes, but you see, apparently he sent me this memo that said that we are renewing your appointment. So this memo doesn't say anything, and it doesn't go into the sum of money, and I never held any conversation. But the important thing of this memo is that it's in the middle of the term. So you see, if they tell me in advance, and I think that to some other people. They told in advance that unfortunately the school doesn't have money. We have to make changes. And you see, I'm always been here to accept all changes. And I know that changes may be good for the school. But this memo came in the middle of the 5-year term. And that's what it says here with DJ. And this is a sample contract, and the samples contracts with Dinkwells would include the summer, but you see, the fact that I signed this document and they also pay the summer, so I thought that I would have two sources of payment for the summer. So it went unnoticed to me, all this stuff, because I was the chair, but when I stopped being the chair, they said that this is the way they wanted to read the contracts. And it came all together with, they also repurposed, so we are now in 2021, 22. So I was holding the chair for 2 years, and then they, without previous notice, they repurposed the chair because they went to social sciences or journalism. So again, I was caught up in a situation in which, after being for 2 years holding the chair, I always thought that this was a 5-year term. The chair stopped existing. So that's all my story here. And I hope that I was brief enough. Thank you very much.
Great. Okay, let's open it up to questions. Well, first, one question from me, Manuel. Are you still the holder of the chair?
No, they repurposed the chair in the middle of the term. Either the chair did not have funds, I never knew. So one of the problems with dealing with this case is that I never had access to any documents. So someone should pull the documents and see where we are. We've been through a stage of entering games, and of course, you see, I appreciate everyone that does service to the university, but I never had the information. So the answer is not. Apparently, again, they told me in 2024 that I wasn't the holder of the chair. So I was waiting to fill in the report in 2023. The report never came. You see, that's what. And in 2024, that's the first time that they told me that I wasn't the holder of the chair. And they also say that chairs are honorary. They are not endowed chairs anymore, but you see in the offices of everyone that they are endowed chairs. This doesn't worry me because I just want to focus on my own contract.
So they did. I mean, I'm a little confused. So how did they decide that you were not going to be the holder of the chair? Was there? I mean,
they say that it was repurposed in 2024, or they lost the chair. The school lost the chair, and therefore I was no longer the holder of the chair.
Who told you that?
Angola, I mean, I don't have. I can send the emails. It said that in the future in social media, you shouldn't have this. I got an email that I wasn't the holder of the chair.
Was the email from John Quelch, or was it from the interim dean?
No, the interim dean in 2024. I think that it was March 2024. They said that I was no longer the holder of the chair because the chair is being repurposed. But I was in the 5-year term. I was holding the chair for 2 years out of 5. As I said, given that I have a house and a mortgage and many other things, I would love to know those things in advance. I don't do remote work from elsewhere.
Could you just send us a copy of that letter where they indicated that it was repurposed? So we have that.
Yes. Well, I think that in the previous email, the first notice that was by the department chair, but yeah, I will send all information I have, obviously.
Thank you.
Regarding the notice, but the notice should have come in 2020, in my opinion, and it came in 2023. That's my humble view of the situation. So what I'm saying is that I don't oppose the change. I know that things change every time, so but I think that it's good that we respect the I was expecting to respect the 5-year term of the contract. That was my view.
Okay, who would like to start with the questions?
I'll throw out a question. Professor Santos, the summer funding is tied to being the chair, right?
No. There are two chairs. One is department chair, and another one is a professorship. So let's call. I was holding summer funding to my professorship, and every year I will draft the budget and send that to the foundation. So that I have done it every year till 2022. So when you're saying the department chair, they wrote that in the contract, but I call that thin air. That's what I was saying, because my money was coming from my professorship already, and every year I was filling out the budget to the foundation. So
I'm just referring to the
professorship
and night chair. I'm just referring to the night chair here, not the department chair.
Okay, so let's call it the night chair. Right.
So your term was from 2020 to 2025, right?
Right. Yeah.
And prior to the chair being repurposed, how many months of summer salary did you pull from the bank?
There are. That's hard to tell because they say that I was paid through being. I have also a contract that as department chair, I was getting the money. So there are two issues here, right? In the future, in the past, I was getting money every summer. Nobody asked me for any requirements. For 14 years, nobody asked me for any requirements. And therefore, what I'm asking now is to apply the rule that is consistent with my expectations and previous facts. But of course, if you're asking how many summers is the current term that I got the money, is 2 summers, yes.
Right.
But I made my presentation in such a way that if somebody sends a message that is not correct, I don't think that I should be hurt. Or I don't think that there should be incentives in the university to do the wrong thing, and then the party that didn't do anything would be damaged or hurt. So that's what I'm trying to explain here. So I'm trying to explain that they didn't give a proper notice, or that's my view, and therefore the notice doesn't apply, and we should go back to the previous way of doing things.
Right.
This is my humble opinion. Okay, I respect everyone, and I'm just saying what I do believe.
Right.
I have a question also, Manuel. I'm also from Spain, by the way. So I didn't understand. So if the chair was repurposed, so that means that there were not any economical problems, not simply the money was used for a different thing. So that means that there is some intention, was intention to take it from you or give it to somebody else. Is that a correct interpretation or not?
In my opinion, yes. I think that I was with the foundation. They never told me we are running out of money, or at least there was endowment. I know that with COVID, you see endowments were very volatile, and people were making decisions. Even the university was making decisions. But even the the director of the foundation spoke to me informally, and again in the second term, and I told that to Dean Quelch, and he said, well, this is not going to be an issue, I'll switch you to another chair, but probably his view of the chair was different to mine. So, nobody ever told me, look, we ran out of money, if that's the simple answer to your question. We ran out of money, and therefore we no longer. What I was hoping implicitly, but again I'm very naive, is that if you have a chair and you didn't make a proper notice in advance, probably the school should help in terms of creating the right expectations and the right working environment in the school. So whenever someone has an unexpected issue, that the school will bear, unless the school could also afford it. But this was my commitment, the commitment of the school, and I never heard that there were monetary issues.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah, go ahead.
Hi, Manuel. Manuel, so in your opinion, to have resolution to your case, it's what, to get 3 years back on your summer payments from the chair? Is that your what you think about your resolution? Is this what I understand?
That's really. I think that I was supposed to complete the term.
Okay, so that's your.
My presentation here. Okay, so my presentation here was that if we apply the way things working in the past, this is the case. I'm not a lawyer, but you can go back to the original contract and say the only thing that works is the original contract. I have applied for grants during these years. Partly because I was interested in artificial intelligence, I went with another group. But then they are imposing requirements like you need to be. So I think that I'm filling my contract obligations too. But they are imposing a requirement that I must be the principal investigator, and I never seen that in the profession.
And when did they require you to be the principal investigator? What year was that?
It was. I applied in January 22. I applied in January 2023, and at the end of 2023, they told me.
Who is they?
One summer was already passed. So
okay, so you got an email on that saying.
Yes, I sent it before in my letter. So
that's from Alex Wilson.
Right.
Yes, but imagine that Bill Gates tells you, I want to go with a grant with you. I'm not going to say, look, I need to be the principal investigator. So I believe that imagine that now I'm thrilled with artificial intelligence, but if I want to join a group doing artificial intelligence, I cannot say, yes, I'm thrilled with artificial intelligence, you're the experts, I want to join you guys, and I want to be the principal investigator. So these are not current academic practices that for signing up for a grant, you need to be the principal investigator. Moreover, nobody has ever written that in the school. So I view that I don't want to get into game of requirements. because I already pursued that game and unfortunately it didn't work. And I think that this will hurt the university to go into discussions that really are not very productive.
And let me just ask you one more question, Manuel. When they told you they're going to repurpose your chair, did you?
No, they said that they repurposed. This was in 2024, I think.
That they said they're repurposing your chair?
The chair was repurposed and all chairs were with, they said that with Dinkwelch, all chairs were honorary, they were not endowed chairs. I mean, I can, and therefore I was entitled to the summer and the chair was repurposed. I will send the email, but there is also, in the previous document, there is a report by the chairman. This was the first time. He said, I just learned that chairs are honorary rather than endowed, but you go to the offices in the school and there are many endowed chairs. So this is, but yeah, I will send you both the report of the chair and yeah, but I must say that, you see, I don't know how other chairs work. I never been interested in legalities, so you see, I don't want to, I mean, I want just to focus on my own case and not go into other cases. And I'm just giving, as I said, my view. I do have experience because, as I said, it's not only that I've been a fellow of the Econometric Society, I was chairing some other places, like, you see, I was, for instance, a founder of the Universidad Carlos III in Madrid, and I was the first chairman of the Universidad Carlos III in Madrid. So I have some experience, although right now I feel that, because I'm a bit sick, I want to go back to academia. And as I said, I'm not concerned with the details for other people.
Yes, Professor Santos, as I understand it so far, there are two issues on the table here concerning your receipt of the summer funds from the night care. One has to do with purported requirements of being the PI or co-PI, and the other has to do with the repurposing without formal notice of possible termination or decision to terminate your summer funds. So what I don't see yet, and perhaps you can help us understand, is what is the overlap of those two? If they overlap or they're two separate in terms of timing, etc.
Yeah, I think that there are three possibilities on the table. Okay, so one is to say, and was what I was trying to say. Well, in the past I was getting the chair without any requirements, and therefore you're entitled to the 3 years. The second possibility, or positions, you see, is to say, well, if we go to, there are, you see, all that I have sent are internal documents, and if we go to the original contract, you would have, we still can pay you, but you would have, in a retroactive manner, to fill in all the requirements that the contract says that you have to apply for the chair. This is position number 2. That and position number 3 would be, well, sorry, we didn't give you any notice regarding the repurpose, but we ran out of money or for some other reason, and therefore you're not entitled to anything without any notice. So that's the 3 positions I can think of, and I endorse the first position. Is that clear? So and so. Yeah, your voice is, but that's fine.
Oh, sorry. Somewhat. I think I would have to.
How is your?
Just
I mean,
reflect on that.
you can tell me and simply, and I will try to perfect your position or clarify. but you see, what I'm asking is, I have applied for all the grants, so I think that I fulfilled the contract, but of course, I think that this is retroactive. It shouldn't be. But if we go to, you see, say, apparently, you see, imagine that there is people going to legal disputes or anything like that. Apparently, what counts is the contract, but the common sense is to do, you see, of the collegial sort of way, or in order to create a good environment in the university, is to project, or that's my position, to project the past in the way it used to be before Dean Welch, that started sending these false notices. And unfortunately, you see, they could have stopped in 2017, I'm aware of that. They could have stopped at least 2020 and further. But because the notice was wrong and there was a confusion, I was, you see, staying there for 5 more years. But of course, I would also have my choices. And at that time, I was chairing the department. There were not many people. And if now they have a few people, they cannot say, well, you're no longer needed. We are moving forward. So that's the idea. In any case, I insist that there won't be more fellows of the Econometric Society in Florida, possibly, given that right now, you see, these top universities have grown so much that it's very hard, you see, for other places to get those titles. Okay, but I hope that I was helpful. Thank you.
What other questions do people have? Dina.
Yeah, thank you. Just a couple of small clarifications. So I'm just curious, when the grant that was submitted to NSF in 23, and I understand that you were not a PI or a co-PI, but was it written in such a way as to cover your summer salary?
Well, they asked, I didn't write because I wasn't the principal investigator, but they asked for the summer salary. And at that time, once they asked for the summer salary, I had, you see, when somebody in your university, they ask you for the summer salary, that they need to have access to your actual salary, and they need to have access to some confidential documents. I thought that this was real. I mean, so, but you see, and it was real because then there is the IB system in which they said that the grant was processed. So this was the way I was operating, and I did that simply because I thought that this was an opportunity, and we always try to find ways to do funding of the department. I mean, like now I'm organizing conferences and I'm getting like 30,000 YouTubes, so for those sort of things with Alan Berger. So yeah, we always try to do activities so this was not so much trying to fulfill the requirements, but I had them in mind nevertheless. But is that in the school we try to be active and visible, and there was a new professor coming from computation, and I just wanted to welcome her and try to see whether we could have a team. But yeah, they asked formally for the summer, and then the IB system said that the grant was processed, and they never told me we didn't apply, or they didn't tell me anything that that it could be wrong in the application. So I took my word. You have a couple, you said.
Yeah, and so I'm just trying to understand this. So one issue is that instead of getting paid the summer salary as a night fellow, you were getting paid the summer salary as a chair. And
well,
so,
according to them, because I was fulfilling the budget to the foundation every summer, and I was imputing the money. So basically, in business schools, what happens is that there is only one bank, okay, and we try to process payments in one way or another with some name or the other, but they were getting money from the foundation, and I was the holder of the chair, or that's the way this was reflected in my report. You see, but there is things are involved into accounting, and they may say that they gave me the money. I can tell you a story, but you see, this thing and this is one of the reasons I applied. This thing, when we were losing so much money with COVID, he said, well, you have to be polite to people, make them think how valuable they are, so they will be happier. And this president did it in another way. So you see, there are many ways to do when you lose your money. So these are a little bit wording. So one of the reasons I came here is because I think that now people do it in another way. My contracts before 2016, I view them as very honest writing, very clear. Whereas, as you're saying here, it's very confusing to say if the money was coming from the one source or the other, because so this is a sort of writing that usually the school does not practice, but which is very confusing. And you see, I really congratulate the previous things that they were separating very well the sources and making everything crystal clear. But I understand that things packaged, they look for donors. You see, there is engineering for the accounting that they do. Yeah. But in my mind, I was always filling in the grant documents every year and acknowledging that this was the money, or this is the way I have spent the money, and this was the budget. Whether this was a formal document or an inessential document, that I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I understand the issue about the source of the money, but in terms of what you're entitled to, you feel it's both being paid for the summer salary for being department chair and being a Knight fellow, and those things are not adding up, essentially. You didn't get summer salary for all of those. Is that right?
Yeah, yes, right. But I was getting from the chair, and nobody will tell me that using my as a Knight chair, things have changed. Yes. Right. Thank you.
Manuel, who do you think it would be helpful for us to talk to with respect to your case? Are there any individuals you want us to meet with?
I really don't know. I mean, you see, like, the chair didn't get involved because he was new, and this is really very, you see, when a person is new here, he doesn't have academic experience, in my opinion, so he didn't get involved for one reason or another, whether he should or not. He did not get involved, and I have pursued these cases through the vice deans or deans that you can see their position. I was always curious, you see, when I signed the contract with Paul, what Paul had in mind, but probably this is too far away, or you see, I don't know. I would say to you that if someone in the school knows how these chairs have been working, you see, like Jadon Lu, I think that had a different writing, or some other people. So I would say that if there is someone that is experienced in this sort of thing, but I really, I really don't know. So my sense is, I'm going to send you the documents that you have requested, and you can take there from there. But I really don't have strong opinions as to who would be the best regarding this case.
So just one other question I have. The document that you got from Quelch indicated that you know, it's midterm, I realize, but it indicated that your appointment was until 2021. Did you get any sort of letter in 2021 about renewing the chair?
No, but I posted two documents in which I was the chairholder in 21, 22. The document regarding Quelch that you're referring to, the final date is good. The starting date is not good. I just want you to be aware. And the starting date is only that he came to town. So when you see a new boy comes to town, they need to change everything. But it's more like the style. I don't want to say, but yeah. The ending date, which is 22, I believe, 21 or 20, I don't recall, but I think that the ending date is good. The starting date is not good.
Okay. All right. Any other remaining questions before we let?
Yeah, just one follow-up to your question, Linda. Professor Santos, you submitted a progress report like in 21, 22, right? On annual report. You did, right? I'm asking.
Yeah, this is being.
So there was no response to that, well, you are not the night chair. Your annual report was accepted as your annual report.
Right. And then in 20, okay, so what this delayed is that in 23, I was expecting to come, but you're always busy, so I think that I asked them somewhere in 24 to that office, and they said, no, this year it didn't come. So I through that office, like I think that sometime in 24, and I was already with these problems. I did ask. Well, I got confused 22 with 23, so I said I realized that I have to do the report, and the lady wrote me and said, this is 23. Say, no, this year you don't have to do anything. It didn't come. So, but yeah, you're making the point that 21, 22, I made the usual report, or I submitted the usual report, and nobody told me this is a mistake. But it could be, you see, sometimes people are busy. I mean, it was a misunderstanding for me, but of course I don't want to blame anyone else. Well, not only that, okay, sorry, I just want to add up. I went to parties with the chair foundation within that period, 21, 22. So I was talking to people as the holder of the chair. So it was not, I mean, it's not only one thing. When you're the chair or you have one chair, you see there are always lots of evidence that you cannot hide. So I just want to say, I mean, I just presented some evidence, but obviously if you're the chair, you see there is going to be more actions during the year that you're going to do, and therefore it would be silly to pursue that route. I mean, because you always leave lots and lots of evidence whenever you want to distort reality.
All right. Well, thank you very much for being here.
Well, thank you so much for your time and for being so speedy in this process. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care of yourself.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. So that was. I mean, I don't even know what repurposed chair means. I'm really shocked by that. And an endowed chair doesn't run out of money because it's endowed. So the money would still be there. If it was repurposed, I'm wondering by whom. You know,
and where?
It seems that the foundation were the one making the decision, no? Because if he was told 2 years before, or I don't remember when, that this could be a possibility, that he could lose that. Maybe they thought economics is not that interesting, let's give it to journalists, or I mean, it's strange, but I don't know.
Right. So I once heard, I may be wrong, but that night chairs are up to the appointing body or school or department or university organization's negotiation with the foundation. Meaning, in some arrangement, a night foundation pays, say, X number of academic salary out of 9 months appointment. In the case of Coral Gables faculty members, in some case, it comes with say allowance like this, $15,000 for research. So it's up to the negotiation. So in passing, Manuel said that it's an honorary appointment. So it may be the case that the business school did some negotiation or discussion with the Knight Foundation so that even say they are able to carry out the name. So still use the name of Knight Chair, but the Knight Foundation may not be paying a dime. So, so we have a couple of people in the computer science departments who are Knight Chairs, and I think they are receiving 50% of their academic salaries from the foundation. So that's what. But I think that we need more, say, all the letters that the school wrote to Manuel about these department chair appointments and night chair, whatever the nature of the appointment is about the appointments. Also, a summer salary policy that he provided is from 2012. I'm wondering whether the school is still using the same policy. They might have been secret update of the policy. And of course, Linda, you and Sarah, you're from the same school. Probably if there is any change, you would have known it.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things we should do is we should have the faculty senate reach out to faculty affairs in the business school and get copies of. I mean, if this chair has been repurposed, they certainly needed to inform him as well as his department. So we should get copies of that. The summer research in the school, it's kind of an interesting process. So regular faculty compete for summer research. All untenured faculty members get 2 nights without doing anything. But the tenured faculty, basically, there's a kind of a formula that's used. They have to have published at least what's considered to be one A-level journal, one in press over a 3-year period in order to continue getting 2 nights in the summer. Economics, their faculty, when you look at the faculty group as a whole, a lot of them don't meet that bar when they're tenured because there's a very few number of economic journals that are on what's considered by the school to be the A list. UT Dallas and the Financial Times list. So a number of them really don't end up getting the 2 nights because of that. But I can tell you that when you look at a lot of the other departments in the school, a majority of tenured faculty members are on 2 nights in the summer. They don't need to write reports or do anything. They just basically need to continue publishing.
Right.
Yeah, but my read of the contract, or anyway, the statement in the files we received, was that the requirement on his part was that he attempt to obtain funding, not that he obtain funding.
But that's different because we have 2 nights that all regular faculty are eligible to get. For him, he comes under the contract that was given to him when he became an endowed chair. He was hired to hold an endowed chair. I have been able to get someone like him without bringing him in on an endowed chair. So when he was hired on that endowed chair, and you look at the letter, David made this point earlier, it basically said that he needed to put effort into trying to secure external funding. It did not say he needed to be a PI or a co-PI. It merely said he needed to demonstrate that he had put this effort into it. So in the records that we received, one of the analyses was done by Alex Wilson, and she basically dismissed his case, saying that, well, you weren't a PI or a co-PI. Well, he didn't need to be. If you read his letter, that wasn't something that he needed to be.
I find that email problematic. That's what caught my attention also. That was very dismissive, and she shouldn't have put it in writing. So that's the problem.
Yeah, I was surprised by that because you would have thought she'd do a much more careful review, and that wasn't a careful review at all. And she's wrong. I mean, we could call her in if you want to.
For me, that's what caught my attention, and so on that basis, he should get it. Even if we forget everything else, she should not be in writing it. From a vice provost, faculty affairs, I don't know.
I'm happy to invite her in, and you can certainly talk to her about that if you'd like, if you think it would be useful. I mean, that's totally up to you. But
Linda, I maybe a bit premature, but I think partly what's confusing here is he was a department chair and he was getting the 2 nights. And at that time, he didn't discriminate between where that money was coming from, whether it was coming from the foundation or it didn't matter because he was getting it, right? He made the point, well, that was an accounting thing. He could have been getting the 2 ninths, and the school could have been reimbursed for that 2 ninths from the foundation, in which case it really is coming from the foundation. And maybe the school should be billing the foundation for that. So as a resolution, I mean, we can go through, and this is just based on what I've heard. In his last 5-year term, he pulled 2 summer salaries, 2 nights. He's entitled to 3. Okay, so give him the 3rd, give him 1 2 nights. Then in his last 5 years, he would have gotten his 3, and then be done with it. I think that would be a fair resolution to the problem. I think he would be happy with that, and I think it sounds reasonable, and then it doesn't go into repurposing and all of that. That's just my thinking.
If I understand what David you said, I see this without seeing all the papers and the mechanism behind it. What you mentioned was like he was chair for 2 years. He did not, and then he was the chair and the night chair, as we should, the 2 terms. So he should have got actually 4 months, technically, because as a chair he gets 2 months, and as a night chair he gets 2 months. He should have got 4 months. He was getting only 1-2 months. So technically he should get 2 more 2 months just based on that account.
That would. May I say, that would shock me if that were even possible. I mean, a month's salary is a month's salary, and wherever it comes from, it's paid. Well, at least that's how I would understand it.
We've had situations like that in the business school where faculty had grants and they received 1/9 from the grant, and even though they were entitled to 2/9 based on our research policy, 1/9 came from the grant, 1/9 came from the school. I think in the case of Manuel, what probably happened is the school took the money from night, because it's basically revenue generated from the corpus. They took that money, that's what they used for summer research for him. But he was being paid as a department chair, not as the endowed chair. They just used the money, and that's what he meant by kind of accounting, stuff. I think that's what they were doing.
Yeah.
But I mean, David, do you want to write something up for us to look at? I mean, I think your idea makes sense, and it probably would satisfy him. If you got something down for us, then we can review it and see if we want to go with that or go further and look at basically. I'm just blown away by the fact that an endowed chair could be repurposed without really having any sort of faculty input or any type of formal process. But how do people feel? Does it make sense to have Dave work something up for us?
I would be grateful to Dave for doing that. I think that would address the issue concerning Professor Santos. What it leaves on the table is the issue concerning the repurposing and so forth, which is not perhaps specific to Dr. Santos. I mean, who knows, but there are other folks that may have been affected. We just haven't heard from them. So that, I think, is a separate issue and goes beyond perhaps the evidence that we heard today or that we've seen in our files.
And it's not one that he's bringing forward to us. I mean, that
Correct.
just, what he's concerned with is basically what David is suggesting we deal with. And I think that if the administration goes with that, it would certainly probably make him happy. But I think that there should be further investigation done on what's happening, in this school or maybe other schools, because we now have a policy in the faculty manual about endowed chairs and how they're supposed to be selected and the input process in terms of renewal and everything else. That probably, I don't think that policy was in place for this one. But faculty members who are endowed chairs shouldn't be finding out informally that their chair has been repurposed. There needs to be a process.
Can we meet with somebody from the foundation, or this is out of our reach?
I think that that's probably beyond our purview right now. I think that going forward, when we make a recommendation, we can certainly list that this is something that should be looked at.
Yeah, we can make a recommendation. And also about the PI part, I just thought that was I don't know if we can, David, if you can write something about it.
Yeah.
That was very dismissive, I thought. At the least, give a respectful. So.
Well, I think, if Dave wants to write up the terms, I'm happy to write up, craft up, a formal response incorporating that. And also just, as one of the things that we took note of was the error in that, that memorandum that she sent.
I'll send something to you, Linda, so you can look at it and
put it together kind of in the format that we.
That, David.
All right. Good.
Thank you, David.
Let's go forward. Thanks, David, for doing this, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully, we can get a good draft together, and hopefully, there won't be any more cases.
Linda, do you feel we will be meeting again next week or any of our other, or whenever our next meeting was scheduled for?
I think our next meeting is probably next week. It depends on whether or not I can get a draft to you. We may not need to meet. We can probably do it, through email. But let's just hold it temporarily and see, what happens. But we don't need meetings unless there are cases. So, and right now we don't have any in the mill, which is good. So we'll see. Keep our fingers crossed. All right. Thank you all very much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. We'll see you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.